and welcome to Hellie's Clinical Trial Adventures, the epilogue. It's been a while. If any of you watching this actually watched any of the original Clinical Trial Adventures vlogs or read the blogs, then you're aware of what this is about, which is me taking part in the clinical trial for Bexarotene and to see whether it had remyelination purposes. If you haven't watched any of the older ones, they're all available on the MS Trust website, so you can go and have a look if you want to see what it was like. The results came out just recently, and they were both positive and negative, I suppose. The results of the trial came out to say that Bexarotene was a quite toxic and horrible drug with lots of side effects. So it will not be given to people with MS in the future. But it did actually show that it did have some remyelination happening, which means that although it's sad that this drug wasn't the one that could be used for it, it means that now they know that it can be done, so people can look for another type of drug to do similar type things. The reason why this trial was interesting was that it wasn't a new drug, it was an already existing drug, it's a cancer drug. So they were looking at repurposing existing drugs to see whether they can do this rather than having to go through the whole development of developing a new drug, which is obviously a very, very long and lengthy process. I haven't had the official results yet, but if you had watched any of the earlier ones, you might remember that I was pulled out of the trial due to some funny liver values and severe stomach pains. I was diagnosed with gallstones during the trial, and in the beginning we didn't know that was what it was. And my liver values were so high that there wasn't any counteractive medication that you could take with it, so I was taken off the medication or placebo, and sort of still continue going to the trial and giving the test just to be as still being a member of the trial, even though I wasn't taking any of the medication. And since then the gallbladder is out and I'm much better. Haven't had any problems like that. And with the results of the trial, we found out that every single person who was on Bexarotene had side effects to do with either like thyroid or things like that. So they had to take a counteractive medication. So even though I haven't had the official results yet, I'm sure that I wasn't on a Bexarotene, I actually was on the placebo, because I never had to take any other counteractive drugs to try and fix anything that was going wrong. The thing that went wrong with me was just already pre-existing, which is one of those things that happens during clinical trial. You know, when people sort of say that there's a lot of side effects in trials, that's because the people have to note down every single time. So if you come in with a headache, yes, it could be caused by the drug that you're on, but it could also be just a normal headache. So it's a tricky one. So clearly the placebo did not cause the gallstones, they were already there. But that aside, did I feel disappointed being on placebo, finding out that Bexarotene was actually working? No, I wasn't. I kind of thought that was the case anyway, that it was going to be a placebo. Hearing, you know, you sit in the waiting room and you chat to people and you see all these extra pill bottles that they were given, like I have to take this, I have to take that, and I wasn't given any of those. So I kind of thought, well, either the drug is working really well with me, or I'm definitely on the placebo. So we had a special presentation done by the Cambridge crew, and the Edinburgh crew was there as well, on Zoom, which was really interesting. So it was the people that participated in the trial, the lab rats, such as myself, and also the researchers. And we watched the presentation that was sort of showing all these things that come out from the trial. And they actually asked, they said, so we assume that the drug is too toxic, just judging by the side effects. We want to ask you guys, what did you think? And everybody that had had the issues was saying, yeah, definitely too toxic. So that was interesting. I mean, I think there was nobody there in the chat room that sort of said, oh, well, I'd like to continue on it. But, you know, people might have said that afterwards, I don't know. But I think looking at it as a big thing about taking part in a clinical trial, I was really happy that I was in on it. It was sad that I was pulled out because of the gallstones, but that's, you know, that can't be helped. I was extremely well looked after by the team. They checked up on me after the surgery. I even had a phone call straight after the surgery up to the hospital to find out that I was okay. So you certainly never did feel like you were a lab rat. You were definitely well looked after. And I think it's also really, really super nice that I also think it was really super nice that they followed up with this kind of presentation, because I don't think that is something that always happens. So yeah, I was, from my own experience, I would say if you're thinking of taking part in a clinical trial and you're not worried about, you know, side effects and things like that, then you should go for it. The one thing I would say, which I've noticed that people talk a lot about online when it comes to clinical trial, is when people get very disappointed that there will be placebo in there. Not all trials work the same, but obviously this trial was pretty much 50-50. Half of us was on placebo and the rest was on Bexarotene. So taking part in a clinical trial is research. It's not going to be a cure or, fix you, but it will help towards the goal of fixing us in the future, or at least helping life getting easier. So I think that my experience with the trial, sort of looking at it from the other side, was positive. The pain that came with the gallbladder pain, that was not positive, but that was nothing to do with MS or the research or the trial. So yes, so I'm waiting with excitement to hear what happens next. I'm reading much more research blogs and finding out things. I think, you know, it's sad to have a condition that people don't know what causes it. There is no cure, but it's really super encouraging to see how much research is being done. And especially within things like remyelination, which wouldn't just be for us people with relapsing remitting, but might also in the future be for people with progressive MS. So fingers crossed that we'll see more of these type of trials.